Hi everybody, my name is Rachel. Thank you for watching. This video is going to touch on chest alignment in your yoga practice. So a lot of times in yoga, what I'll see are concave chests, shrugged shoulders, kind of a janky neck here. You'll also kind of see the flare of the low back. A lot of times this is referred to as duck butt. And all of these things are 100% normal. Like if you know that you do this, this is like everyone does this until they know otherwise. So that's what I'm wanting to explain in this video, is how to have proper alignment in your torso while practicing yoga. And this, for the most part, goes across the board with all of our yoga poses. So I want to start by looking at your spine. So first thing, you want to root your sits bones or your pelvis into whatever pose that you're in. So when we do this, we're looking at the lumbar spine here, our low back. So if the pelvis is in an anterior tilt, it's going to compress the lumbar spine and you're going to get that duck butt sort of thing. So you want a posterior tilt instead of your pelvis. So it's lengthening out your lumbar spine, your low back, which is causing yourself to kind of straighten up a bit through your spine. Also, I like to think about this being the foundation. Whether I'm in a standing pose, you're still having some sort of foundation with your pelvis. So even here in a high lunge, instead of allowing my hips to go back, I want, again, that posterior tilt, slight little tilt in, like you were holding a bowl of water in your pelvis, and you want to try to keep that water level. So in doing so, I actually create more of a stretch here through my hip flexor and my psoas, which connects your upper body to your lower body. So thinking about the pelvis and the tilt of the pelvis is really helpful when you're trying to lengthen through your spine. And that's another thing I like to think about, is the spine. I want to lengthen it out, up and down. So you have opposing energy flow. You've got pelvis rooting into the earth, or wherever you're rooting through your feet, whatever it is, going down, and then energy going up through the crown of your head. So to start moving up, we want to notice too if our heart is open, or too open in this case, or really closed off. We want to try to find a place in the middle. So think about broadening through your chest. And it can help sometimes to shrug your shoulders into your ears. Take your hands to your shoulders, press them down as you press your heart forward. And for many years in yoga, I did this, and my low ribs, these little floating ribs here, were just like this. And you want to try to avoid that as well. So that's what I mean by finding that balance, where your heart is still open, your collarbones are still broadening, chest is still opening, shoulders are still down and away from your ears, but also you have this knitting in of your low ribs. Also, you want to brace through your core, like somebody were going to come and punch you in the stomach. It's not only drawing the navel in towards your spine, but also bracing all the way around your core. So beyond that, you want to think about stacking your joints. So shoulders, you don't want them back or too far forward. You really want to try to stack your shoulders over your hips, somewhere along those lines. The other thing to note is what your chin is doing. A lot of times, the chin is kind of lifted up, or it's way too tucked in. This is referred to, or can be referred to, as Jalandhara lock, chin lock. It's one of the different bandhas that we practice throughout yoga. You're going to draw the chin in towards the chest. Now in some Indian texts, Jalandhara lock actually refers to bringing the chest all the way into touch, which can be helpful if you're doing certain things such as like Kapalabhati breath or different types of pranayama. But in general, you don't want your chin too far in or too far out. You just want it to be nice and neutral, so that the crown of your head is still an extension of your spine, moving energy up towards the sky. So that can go for pretty much any yoga pose. And obviously in some of the poses, like a wheel, for example, your head is not going to be really an extension, or it may not feel like an extension, but you want to relax your head. So you don't want to be lengthening too far through your throat. You kind of want to allow it to be neutral while you're in this pose. And of course, you can always tighten it up and take your time with it as you breathe. So all of these cues, for the most part, can be used for every single yoga pose. Of course, there are variations, such as that wheel, such as like if I were working on a scorpion, a lot of times for me to get my toes to touch my head, I do have to lift up a bit through the chin. Same with like an up dog, although a lot of times people jack up their neck a bit more than is needed in up dog. You know, it can look a lot like this oftentimes, which is actually not so much what you're trying to work towards. You want to have more of a neutral stance with your neck. You can look slightly up, but anytime we're jacking up or jamming into any of the vertebrae in our spine, we want to try to lengthen that vertebrae. Even in like a wheel pose, you're not trying to jam anything up in any particular part of your back. You still want to think length throughout the entire spine as you move through these different asanas. So to review, and I wrote myself a list so I wouldn't forget, you want your heart open, you want your shoulders away from ears. You want to think about the chin lock. Ribs are knitting in, these low ribs. Core is going to brace. Shoulders stack over hips. And then notice your lumbar spine, so your pelvic tilt you want to draw your attention to. Those are some helpful cues for me, and that's kind of a list I like to run through anytime I'm practicing in yoga and I'm, checking, okay, how's this doing? Where is the positioning of this? I mean, I'm constantly like ping-ponging in my body as to where I can feel more aligned and be in a safer space. It's not so much about having the perfect pose, it's about creating stability in your body so that the practice is beneficial as opposed to being harmful. Because if you're doing something incorrectly and you do it over and over and over, eventually it's going to wear away wherever it's showing up in your body. So I hope this has been helpful. Please feel free to give me any feedback. If you have any questions about any other parts of the body or alignment stuff, I'm happy to share it. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.